Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Not a Roadrunner. So today is, just a really exciting episode, to be honest. I've had it booked in for ages because the guy's really busy. So we're heading down to DS Trim Shack because we are getting a new carpet today because my carpet is actually minging. The rest of the interior, pretty good. It's lasted really well. The carpet has seen better days, doesn't even cover it. But while we're at it, we're also going to add some sound deadening because this at the minute you can hear everything. So I thought, a bit of sound deadening, make it a bit more comfortable. It's a bit of a cruiser anyway. It adds a bit of weight, but this is not a stripped out drag car anyway. So a little bit extra weight is not going to hurt anyone. So this is going to be a two-part. So first part is going to be some of the carpet with all of the sound deadening, and then it's going to be the finished article for the carpet. So I'm really excited to bring you along with us, guys. So let's get to it. So before we can get started on the sound deadening, the first thing that we need to do is start removing trim. So that's door seals, that's the seats, that's the footwell covers. So basically we can get to the carpet to remove it. The bench seat in my car is held on by 4 bolts, so that's 2 on each side, and they're dales that go through the bottom, and then they're just held on by a nut, like you can see here. With those 4 bolts undone, you just lift up the seat and just pull it out. This is recommended to be a 2-man job though, because it is quite heavy and quite hard, if I'm honest. Now this shot right here really does show why we're getting the carpet redone, because it is absolutely minging. You also need to remove the bottom of the back seat. So to do that, you just push it forward and lift it up, because as you can see here, there's a little clip that goes onto that metal rod. Also, let's not forget that we need to remove the hooks for our harnesses, and also remove the footwell fenders, which are just 2 bolts, like you can see here. And finally, after removing all of that, we can pull the old skanky carpet out. Now, as you can see here, there is a little bit of surface rust, but honestly, they are super solid, which I'm really happy with, because that could have been a huge job if they weren't. So 50 years later, and it's still looking pretty solid. So before we can actually get involved with installing the Dodomat, we need to make sure it's nice and clean and it's degreased. So that's the first task that we need to get on with. So to help align my sound deadening with Stuart's carpet making, I actually started from the centre middle, worked my way out, and then worked my way to the front of the car, just so I didn't hold him up while he was making the carpet. So now that everything is clean and everything is degreased, we can actually start sticking it down. So I recommend using a roller. So it's pretty simple. It's sticky back, so you slap it down, make sure it's nice and smooth, and then just roll it out to make sure it's really stuck down. When I spoke to Stuart, he said that you can overlap it and you can make sure it's really tight, but it's not actually necessary. If there's a small gap, it doesn't actually make that much difference in terms of sound deadening. And let's be honest, anything in this car is going to make a huge difference compared to what we have right now. So one of the biggest things that I learned from Stuart was that when you have an angle that's like a 90-degree bend, you need to make sure that the Dodomat is stuck down and right into the corner. You don't want it lifting up, because then when you stick the carpet down, it will obviously stick to the Dodomat and not to the actual contours of the car. So definitely watch out for that when you're doing your car. It isn't actually necessary to have a roller, but by the end of the day your fingers would definitely be hurting trying to get this Dodomat into all the grooves. So I would recommend getting one. If you don't have one, I didn't have one, so I sort of fashioned one out of a bit of stick and a little roller that I had lying around. So don't have to buy one, but I would recommend having one just because your fingers will be feeling it by the end of the day. So with all of the tips and tricks out of the way, it is just a rinse and repeat for the entire car. So with the installation process out of the way, now it's to talk about why I picked Dodomat. So I had loads of conversations with Stuart about picking a mainline brand like Dynamat, but he said Dodomat, he's had done it previous times and it works just as well as Dynamat, and Dynamat I worked out would have been an extra £100 to sound deaden just the floor. So saving £100 and getting a pretty decent result. He said it may be a little bit less sound deadening, but nothing that you would actually notice on a driving by the seat of your pants sort of moment. So on a side note, when you are installing any kind of sound deadening, it's a good idea to avoid any threads. So any holes, any seatbelt threads where you wind in the eye bolts, you want to avoid them by a good 3" by 3" square, because if that glue or sticky back on the back of the Dodomat gets into those threads, it can really stick it in, and then you are really up the creek without a paddle. So avoid them like the plague, guys. So with the entire floor done and a bit left over, I thought it might be a good idea to sound deaden under the back seat, just because I had some time and had leftover Dodomat. And that concludes today's episode, guys. So that is the whole of the sound deadening installed. I can tell you now that it did actually really work really well. It's so much more quiet, a lot less road noise, but there'll be more of that in the next episode after we install the carpet and you get to see the finished article. So I hope that it helped. I hope that you enjoyed the video, guys. If you did, leave a comment down below and like the video. Please share and subscribe, and I will see you in the next episode. Cheers, guys.